Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences, and their expertise. And we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello, dear viewer and listener. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Let me welcome you to another powerful episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom. This is a episode dedicated to financial literacy and financial freedom and similar subjects. And I've brought an expert in the field, Dr. Abraham Sethibe, and he will introduce himself more fully. But before we start our interview, let me just ask you, please, to strike that subscribe button. We really need your support. I've noticed that a majority of my viewers just watch regularly without subscribing. Please be not among those. Do subscribe. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Be kind enough to just introduce yourself briefly and share your background with the viewers.
Okay. Good morning to you, dear viewers. And
just talk to me. Just face me. Yeah.
Okay. I am Abraham Sethibe. That is my name. I am qualified in financial subjects. I would say accounting and finance. That's my area.
Okay.
In terms of my experience, I have been with the police force, DCEC, Financial Intelligence Agency, and the University of Botswana as a lecturer. So I am skilled in financial investigation. In the three entities that I've mentioned, the law enforcement agencies, I was mainly focusing on financial investigation. So I spent a good part of my life doing that kind of a job.
Okay.
Yes.
What training does one get to where you are? Can you share some of the formal training you did?
Yes, my background, I am an undergraduate in accounting, a master's degree in banking and finance, and a PhD focusing on the capital markets.
Okay.
And I'm also qualified as a chartered accountant. And I'm a member of the Botswana Institute of Chartered Accountants. I also have a qualification in fraud. I would put it that way.
Fraud investigations.
Yes.
Okay. I know that you spent a bit of time in Australia at some point. What were you doing there?
I was doing my PhD
in
Australia. I spent 4 years in Australia doing the PhD.
Focused on?
Capital markets.
Okay.
Yeah. I was looking at the development of capital markets in SADC.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your thesis or dissertation was centered on what? Do you still remember?
Yeah, I still remember. I was using the property rights framework to examine the development of the stock markets, mainly looking at the impediments. Why are our stock markets not growing? Yeah.
Okay. You've spent your career interacting with victims of financial crime. Can we first define financial crime?
Well, financial crime is broad in the sense that it involves issues like obtaining by false pretenses. It involves fraud. It involves all other crimes that involves finance. Let me put it that way in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what seems to be the dominant infraction or crime that you say is happening more times than any other in this country?
Fraud.
Fraud.
Yeah, cheating and fraud.
What form does it take?
It's different forms. The people are being cheated into believing that people can increase their money. There are also online transactions these days. People fall victims on that. And, a number of people have lost the property because of the pyramid schemes. So those are the main ones, but there are others, like obtaining by false pretenses and stuff like that. But fraud is key.
I have myself fallen victim to one called phishing, spelled Phishing, phishing, where essentially my identity is stolen and somebody pretends to be me and posts my photos on Instagram and then on Facebook and other platforms, and goes around telling people that they are Mr. Mogobe and that they are very successful and they can help people quadruple their money. And there are people, prominent people, some of them lawyers, some of them very teachers, people who should know better, who have fallen victim to this and who have told me that they thought they were dealing with me. Can you just deal with that specific situation and what the proper manner, what is the proper way of dealing with it?
Yes, there are quite a number of incidents in that way. And there are cases where particularly the transactions that involves money and online transactions mainly. I've come across incidents where individuals engage the suppliers on the other side and they start the conversation. After that conversation, the client, the side, will be interested in the product on the other side. You will place an order and get an invoice. They will immediately, before paying this invoice, there's another message to say that the account, please use this other account, not the original one which was given to the client.
I nearly fell victim to that, but I had the presence of mind to check first telephonically.
So this is what usually happens, and that's how people lose their money. In that case, the only variable that will change is the account number. So they will use that company and probably using the technique that you describe. Other features like the company name, the logo and everything remains the same. The only thing that changes there is the account number. So people
and sometimes it's an account number or account name which has the same initials. Like for instance, BMC would, instead of Botswana Meat Commission, be Botswana making company, something like that.
True.
BMC.
The only feature that changes significantly is the account number. So every time when initially when you engage with the supplier, you will get the true identity of the supplier, the person you are communicating with. But somehow during the process, it appears your communication with the other party is intercepted. And then whoever would have intercepted this communication start now to engage you, particularly when you go towards the payment. So that is something that a number of people have fallen victims to that.
So what is your advice generally? How vigilant must we be, and what measures do we put in place to protect ourselves?
The first person to protect your property is yourself. You are the gatekeeper in this particular case. So the first thing that you need to do is to know the person that you are dealing with. Number two, you need to know the environment where you are operating. Number three, it is very important that you are aware and you know the product that you are dealing with. Those are the three critical things that you need to observe. Now, regarding the person that you are dealing with, you need to do what we call due diligence. You need to find out who is this person. How long has this person been operating? What are other people saying about this particular business or this particular individual? You also need to know the directors. You need to go beyond just that communication. Know the company itself. Find out information about the directors. What are people saying about those directors? What about the product itself? Can you associate this company with the product? How long has this company been operating? Can you attach any value to this company given the information that you have? Those, you need to be aware as you continue searching for this information. Look for the red flags.
Okay. I see from your background that you've been involved in an organization called the Financial Intelligence Agency, FIA.
Yes.
Tell us about the mandate of that organization and your role, briefly, there.
I was the Director General responsible, was coordinating the activities of that organization. The main responsibility is to receive the reports, financial transactions, analyze them, and disseminate the information to the law enforcement agencies. So it was the Financial Intelligence Agency is a middleman between those that have the information and the law enforcement agency. They look at the information and assess that information before they send the package called the financial intelligence to the law enforcement agency.
And while you were there, was there a pattern in terms of the offenses, or shall I say the crimes that required your skills and you to investigate?
I think if you look at the latest report that was released by the organization, clearly highlights some of the issues that I have alluded to. Yes.
And having been there, I think you were there for 7 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
What did you find most surprising about the criminality of the society, since it was your job to deal with it?
Surprising, I'm not sure if I can say there was anything that was surprising, because it was things that were common across, not only in this country, across the globe. So I have not come across anything that I could say that it was, extraordinary per se.
Speak to the reasons why we at some point grey listed and nearly blacklisted. Are you able to share on that?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't like to talk about those because the process of grey listing or blacklisting is based on your adherence to the standards as a country. Yeah. So that is the mandate. Botswana is any other country in the globe. It's a member of the Financial Action Task Force, which is a regulating body for anti-money laundering programs. So you are assessed as a country, and after that assessment, based on the guidelines, you are either advised or what I would call sanctioned in a way.
Yeah, the only reason I'm asking you, because for the longest time, we're supposed to be the blue-eyed boy of Africa, to use an expression, to be really a very, very special country. So when a time came for us to be grey-listed and almost blacklisted, it took a lot of people by surprise, because we thought we were really the cream of the crop, so to speak.
You remember that the grey listing and the black listing it's not about governance. It's about you having in place the relevant laws to deal with financial crime. Number two, it's about your implementation of those laws to deal with financial crime or to prevent financial crime. Do you have the resources? Do you have the skill? Are you able to implement, or in other words, are you actually implementing the laws? If you have those laws, are you implementing them? Do you have the capacity and the capability to do that? That is what is being assessed. It has nothing to do with governance issues, political or economic management issues.
One of the areas that are concerned relate to money laundering. Assuming that the viewers don't know what that is, can you define what that is and how prevalent it is in the society?
I will not talk about prevalence, because that is an area that is, for other entities. I'm not privy to the statistics, so I would not talk about the prevalence. But the money laundering, it's simply a process of trying to hide the identity of the source, in simple terms. You are trying to hide the source and at the same time attempt to incorporate that property that you would have obtained illegally into the financial system. So it becomes money laundering if you attempt to hide the real facts regarding that particular transaction.
Because the money would have been obtained through fraudulent means. Now you are cleaning it up.
Yes, you would have obtained the money fraudulently, and you are now trying to clean or hide.
Or launder it, clean it, yes.
Yes. You're trying to hide the real story behind your possession of the money.
All right. And you say that from your observation, a lot of Botswana don't have sufficient knowledge of financial products. So you are trying to really teach them how to mitigate, their vulnerability to fraud. Help us understand how you propose to do that and how that works.
I think the easiest way for me will be to share the information, which is what I'm doing now. To say that you need to be careful. Remember, you are the owner of the property. you are the one who is supposed to safeguard that property. So before you can deal with this property, before you can get into any financial transaction, inform yourself. I think that is the simplest way of protecting your own company. But at the same time, there is something that can be done to assist or aid the citizens to be able to make proper and prudent financial decisions. For instance, when you look at how most of the people fall victims, it is clear that they lack the knowledge of how financial markets operate, including the financial products they are dealing with.
So the answer is with education.
The answer is with education and accountability, personal accountability.
Okay. Now, the areas that I mentioned where the phishing situation has taken place that I mentioned to you have to do with people claiming that I'm into cryptocurrency and with people claiming that I'm into forex. I have no interest or knowledge of those things as such, or I have no meaningful understanding of how they operate. How would you help Botswana maneuver in these areas where information is a bit foggy? For instance, let's talk about crypto, and then we'll after that talk about forex.
Yeah, you see, the best way for any investor is to get advice from people that are in that area. There are a number of people, I'm not one of them, that are dealing with crypto, and I'm not an expert in that area. I can only talk about the regulatory part of that, but in terms of the technical issues, I'm not an expert in that. But there are people that can assist if you want. In fact, in some instances, you don't even need the expert in that area. You just need yourself to be able to, get enough information about that particular product. Mm-hmm. In fact, if someone comes to you and says, I'm dealing with virtual assets, whatever virtual assets means at that particular time, the first step is to know the very same person. Is it true that this person is dealing with this particular product? How long has he been dealing with this product? You start with the person to understand the person. Then you go to the product. If you are not able to get information about the product, or you are not able to inform yourself about the product, get assistance before you throw your money in there.
Now, you talked about knowledge of the regulatory environment. What regulatory environment is there in Botswana about virtual assets?
Well, the law, I think early this year, the law was passed. The virtual assets, the dealers, if you might put it that way, are expected to report suspicious transactions, for example. That is, in a nutshell, they have the responsibility like any other person dealing with any other financial product.
In other words, is someone who's selling crypto required to register with NBFIRA?
Yes, true. Mm-hmm. They are expected to register with NBFIRA and comply with the Financial Intelligence Act. There are clauses that they have to
So in other words, if somebody is not even known at NBFIRA, you know that this
is not supposed to be trading.
Mm-hmm. Would that the same apply to forex? And can you say a thing or two about forex? Because that's one area where people have lost tons of money.
The problem with that one, with forex, it's an area that falls under Bank of Botswana. But I'm aware that people are dealing in forex online, which is something that is not, that you can't regulate. They just get into those markets and start dealing. So there's no way how you can regulate that kind of a transaction, because there's no trader there. You are the trader yourself. You get into, you follow the market and then trade online.
Okay, so really the red flag would be if somebody says, bring me the money, I'll trade for you.
Yeah, if someone says, bring the money, I will trade for you, then it's up to you to do the necessary. Assess the very same person before you give this person money.
Okay, you want us to really incorporate financial literacy in this country, but maybe before we solve the problem, we should really understand the problem. Where did we lose it as Botswana? Where did we fail in terms of acquiring financial literacy? Where did we go wrong?
I wouldn't say that we failed. It's only that we probably are still coming.
What I'm saying is that we're not sufficiently financial literate, and that's why we're falling victim.
Yeah, but remember, the finance as a concept, it's a foreign concept to us as a nation, as Botswana. When we grew up, the only thing that we knew is cattle. If you ask me about cattle, any Motswana, if you ask Motswana about cattle, he will tell you something. But finance is a concept that was introduced at a later stage. So, and again, because of economic factors, we were not exposed at the same level at the same time. There are variations. So I'm hoping that as the economy grows, as now everybody is engaged in finance, there will be some consideration of trying to sensitize and empower each and every person so that we are all able to make proper financial decisions.
Okay. Now, somebody watching you on this podcast would be asking, Dr. Sethibe, how do I go about converting myself from an illiterate person to a literate person financially? What would be your answer?
My answer will be, inform yourself. Simple. Inform yourself. How do you inform yourself? There are short courses that have been provided by a number of institutions around. You can also read a number of people that are financial experts, were not trained in finance. They informed themselves. Some were HR managers, some engineers, but they informed themselves. They
some were lawyers like me.
Some lawyers like yourself. So it is about the interest. Before you get into any environment, you need to inform yourself about that particular environment. Engage yourself, engage your mind.
And what is available out there as someone who's in the industry? What is available and what does your organization offer, not just in terms of UB, but also in terms of your activities outside UB?
I'm not aware of any other, apart from you registering with an established institution to study for a finance course or an accounting course, or simply informing yourself by reading. I'm not aware of any other program that is available in this country.
Okay. And you say that the problem of financial inadequacy is not unique to developing nations. It's not unique to Botswana, for instance. Even developed nations have the same problem. Can you explain that?
Yeah, there are a number of studies that indicate that, the level of understanding, the financial literacy, is low across the globe. I was simply referring to the studies that are available, that can be accessed by anybody. Yeah.
So what excuse do they have? Now, your excuse for us is that we only learnt about cattle in the old days. What excuse does the first world have for being in the same doldrums as us?
Well, I really wouldn't know. I cannot make an observation on that area. I have not read the literature explaining the reasons why they... Yeah.
But for me, it gives me some solace, because it says to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it means you can make it anyway if you are financially literate, regardless of which part of the globe you are.
Of course, yes. You can make it as, although I'm not sure if I understand the...
Making it, succeeding if you're financially literate.
Of course, yes, yes. Financial literacy helps you to make informed financial decisions. And they also financial literacy also helps you to read and understand and, take advantage of the opportunities that are provided by the economic factors, including the financial environment.
Okay. One of the things that has cost Botswana a lot of money is pyramid schemes. What does the law define as a Ponzi scheme or as a pyramid scheme? And what should we do to inoculate ourselves against the risk?
Logic. For me, to be honest, it's logic. Yes, the pyramid scheme, all pyramid schemes have one sort of characteristic. The first people to enter will get the benefit. You will get your returns. And in most cases, these are the people that are used to recruit others to enter. As the base expands, you throw in more money with the hope and, of course, the confidence, because some would have benefited. So it will get to a point where now the scheme simply shuts down. And you have got nowhere to
Why
go.
does it shut down? No more people to recruit.
Of course, they would have made more money. And then they simply close the account. And in most cases, you would not have met those people. It is an online transaction. You've got nobody to blame but yourself. The reason why I'm saying logic is because they claim to be so efficient that they will give you, in some instances, even 100% interest over your money. Is that reasonable? No. Is that sustainable? Obviously not. My question is, if that is correct, so then we wouldn't be having poor countries. We we wouldn't be having poor countries. Because there's a very simple way of making money.
Okay, the second part of my question is how do we inoculate yourself? We said logic, but let's take it a step further. There are legitimate organizations calling themselves multi-level marketing organizations. So one would probably be saying, what is a legitimate MLM and what is a Ponzi scheme? It goes back to definitions. How do you tell them apart?
The main thing is the understanding the operations. You can distinguish the organizations based on their operations. And in most cases, the Ponzi scheme does not have a long lifespan. They disappear. They start and disappear within a space of time.
Maybe a month, maybe 6 months, maybe a year.
Maybe 6 months or so, depending on how they would have accumulated until they reach that satisfaction level. So if it's a company that has been operating for 3-4 years, you can have some sort of level of confidence there.
But still, you still have to be careful.
Oh, yes, you still have to be careful. You still have to do the necessary due diligence and make sure that because you can still fall victim. Remember what I said earlier. You can still communicate with this company, and then your communication is intercepted. Even if the company itself is genuine, your communication can be intercepted. And you end up paying a different supplier or a different person than the supplier.
Yeah. So, all right. So, now let's talk about the vulnerabilities. Now, we want to deal with the features associated with our vulnerability. Botswana has been among the top 3, in terms of being ranked as a countries with a high income gap. In other words, the gap between the rich and the poor. We're in the top 3, from what I understand. Now, we need to, what can be done about that to address that particular vulnerability?
I think that, in my view, the government is doing a lot in trying to assist citizens to empower citizens economically. Now, how does this income gap become a vulnerability or create a vulnerability? You will find that when the gap between the rich and the poor is wide, like it is in this country, the concentration, the wealth concentration, is in the few hands. So majority of the people would be trying to make ends meet. And I like using this analogy that because they can see that if you try hard, you can make it, they tend to run. And when they run, they miss steps and fall victims. And it is about what they see and the opportunities they are exposed to. If they are rich people,
because speed kills, isn't it?
Yeah, speed kills. If they are rich people, then I can also be rich. So how you arrive at that, it also matters. So in most cases, we miss that step. Secondly, the income gap creates an expectation. And it also, you see, you will find that we will be referring to the standard of living. These few individuals may pick the standard of living to a higher level and put the other ones under significant pressure. That's another vulnerability. And everybody else wants better life anyway. So as you move towards economic empowerment, acquiring the resources to improve your livelihood, because you do not have sufficient information, you fall a victim.
How did we end up becoming the top three? I don't want to say where did we go wrong. I just want to know how we ended up being the top three, among the top three countries with the biggest gap between the rich and the poor.
I'm honestly not sure how we arrived there, but there seemed to be some sort of, I'm not sure if I can say relationship, because other countries would be South Africa and Namibia. So as to what is common among these three countries, I'm not sure.
In the whole planet?
Yeah, Namibia and Botswana among, if you look at the World Bank information, among the top. Namibia, South Africa, and Botswana. So I'm not sure what is common among these countries.
If experts like you don't know, Dr. Sethibe, how are we going to know ordinary mortals like us?
It's an area that I have not explored. I may probably try, attempt to inform myself in the future, but I cannot give an answer.
Does it have something to do with governmental policy?
I honestly can't say. I need to inform myself, read the relevant literature, and examine other factors. But I'm afraid I can't make an opinion on. I don't have an opinion on that, and an opinion also would not be, it will not be useful in this particular, because this is an economic factor.
But is there a society, if based on your studies and your extensive experience, which you say, yeah, we could emulate the society, where whether it be Dubai, whether it be the Scandinavian countries, whether it be the Singapores of this world, whether it's now the popular one, Rwanda, is there a society that we can say we can aspire to in terms of addressing the income gap?
My strong belief is that you need to start and grow where you are, using your own resources. The problem with trying to emulate other countries is that we sometimes fail to understand that the economic factors, or there are quite a number of factors that influence or that will support their position, which are not relevant to us. We can model our economy based on what we have and still improve our livelihood.
Okay.
Without necessarily trying to do what Singapore is doing. For example, if you look at Singapore has got no, the backyard. Does not have, it's a city, does not have a backyard.
City state, yeah.
Yeah, it does not have a backyard like we do. So, if you compare yourself with that country, you'll probably lose the fact that you have the rural community.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Let's move on to another vulnerability, which has to do with household indebtedness. That, the household debt, which means in terms of credit, it obviously means credit relating to things that are not real assets, The credit relates to TVs and cars and movable assets as opposed to immovable property. But there's a serious household gap which dominates the commercial bank's loan book in Botswana. This vulnerability, can you explain it for the viewer to understand it? And B, can you also offer solutions?
Of course, you should expect that when you have this high income gap. you should expect the household to be highly indebted. It has been proven. So, how to address the problem? In my view, the first thing that we need to do is to capacitate people to be able to make prudent financial decisions. In most cases, you'll find that it is an issue of financial management. People think that a loan, an unsecured loan for that matter, is a solution to his financial problems, which in most cases it is not. A solution lies with the thinking pattern than the loan. If you get that loan, what are you going to do with it? If you get a loan for consumption, what are you doing? Are you not further exposing yourself into financial stress unnecessarily?
But do commercial banks also contribute to this? Because the latest report says 60%, 66% of the loan book, which is 2/3, is consumer debt.
Commercial banks are in business. When they get opportunity, they will use that opportunity. So, my view, personal view, is that it is the consumer. The power lies with the consumer. You choose what you want to eat. So if I sell chicken and you want chicken, I will sell it to you. In simple terms.
But shouldn't I know they're in business, but shouldn't there be some kind of control? Shouldn't there be an ethical consideration there, where you are just offering the money drug to the population to its own detriment? In the long run, does it not also affect the banks if they're just producing a consumption society? Conspicuous consumption, for that matter.
When I read the Financial Stability Report, Bank of Botswana Financial Stability Report, seems to be suggesting that the household debt is increasing, but at the same time, the ability to pay is also increasing. So that we cannot say that commercial banks would have looked at this information and are aware that yes, high levels of personal debt or household debt is not desirable.
Okay.
But the ability to pay is there. So if they are able to pay, so the bank will not worry that much. So that is, I looked at that and that's what I found. And I thought maybe that could explain.
Okay. And just to be clear, how does this vulnerability expose someone to the risk of being defrauded or falling victim to fraud?
Remember, if you are under financial stress, you are to some extent incapacitated. Anything that can rescue you becomes a redeemer. Why am I saying this? If you have borrowed to the limit, and then you are under pressure to pay, the next thing is that you go to another person to borrow. So
robbing Peter to pay Paul.
You rob X to pay Y. In addition, because of the instability, anything that appears like, can assist you from your current position, you will necessarily fall victim.
So that's a vulnerability.
Yes. You will not, you don't have time to be thinking about who is this person, where does this person come from. Then as long as there is an indication there that this can help your problems, you will necessarily fall into that trap.
This one nearly made me cry as I was prepping for this show. Let me just read it as we've you and I have presented it. Botswana still believe that there are people with some supernatural power to increase money outside established channels of investment. I think here we're referring to prophet so and so.
Yes.
Here we're referring to investors so and so, and indeed the people who've been using phishing to defraud people using my name. I have used this technique to say, look, Mr. Mogobe is successful. Hasn't he got building the CBD? How do you think he got that money? Here's your chance. And they use pressure tactics for people to part with their money. I'm talking about specific instances and specific cases where people have been defrauded using this trick. One particular lawyer, very, very prominent lawyer, I will not mention his name, gave away his cash. In fact, he borrowed 20,000 from another lawyer, topped it up with another 10,000, making it 30,000, gave it to this fraudster who claimed to be me, who was going to get this 30,000 to 300,000. And what normally happens is that when they are ready to claim this money, they are then told that to unlock the cash, you need another 50,000. So this one has made me cry because I get emotional a bit because people come to me crying, saying that my name has been used for these nefarious purposes. What do you say there? How do you respond?
That is one side of the story. Your name can be used, a person's name can be used, but in some instances, the discussion is face to face. A person will simply be saying to you, I met quite a number of victims in this area. Look, I can increase your money. Give me 10,000. The next day, you will get 100,000. What is surprising is that this person will be walking.
If you won't even be driving a car.
You will not even driving a car. If you look at this person, the meeting is behind the buildings, somewhere in very shabby areas. So, and you still believe this person, to say that this person can really increase the money. So you go to your place, get the money, and give to this particular individual.
And sometimes it's fairly educated people who fall.
Sometimes, yes.
People who should know better.
Sometimes, yes. I've met some. Well,
I mentioned two lawyers to you, yeah.
Experts. Professionals. And then you wonder, is it that we probably missed to educate these professionals on finance, on financial management, at the time when they were learning the skills that they have now? Where did we miss it? I don't know. But probably I could say that that is the reason why we are advocating that probably we incorporate this financial literacy at
I think sometimes you need more common sense than financial literacy.
Yeah, in most cases.
Because if it's too good to be true, it probably is 90% of the time, 99%.
Yeah. In most cases, it's about common sense, to be honest. But at the same time, if you are under financial pressure, the common sense is suppressed.
They say that sometimes common sense is not so common.
Yeah. So you can't... What attracts you is what is likely if you are successful. If I am successful, I will get out of poverty. If I am successful, I will pay Mogobe and remain debt-free. So it is that kind of vulnerability that leads people to make certain decisions.
Okay, let's talk solutions now. Let's conclude our conversation by talking about what systems are in place at a holistic level. I'm talking at a societal level. Obviously, at the individual level, people have to read and learn and expose themselves. But as a society, have you sat down to consider possible solutions and things we can do to have a mind shift or a paradigm shift on this?
I think you put it rightly. What is needed is the paradigm shift. But remember, you cannot talk about a shift if you don't know where you are shifting to. So the first thing then is to try and understand where we want to go. What can assist you? What can get you out of the trap? In my view, I believe that when people are empowered, given the knowledge, then under normal circumstances, people would make proper financial decisions. And people would take some sort of accountability given the knowledge they have.
I know you're a man of faith, Dr. Sethibe. Is there anything from your faith, from the side of your faith, that applies here that you think you can share that can help us deal with this problem?
Yeah, my people are perishing because of lack of
Knowledge.
That's what the Bible says. So it is not a new concept. It is something that has been there. It is common sense per se that if you do not have sufficient information, you will necessarily make mistakes. And that's what the Bible calls perish.
Okay. Anything else?
Just to say that it is painful to listen to these stories. It's very, very painful. Sometimes you would be talking to people that have got nothing else left. They sold their houses, trying to generate income, and they lose everything. So my last point here, it would be patient. Don't make financial decisions in haste. Take time and inform yourself.
Okay. All right. This is the part of the interview where you get to ask me a question. But before I do, let me ask you the crystal ball question. I want to ask you about, brand Sethibe, in terms of what are the plans are, talking 5, 10, or even 15 years ahead. Take your crystal ball and tell us what business will you be engaged in and how you can help our viewers long term.
Because it's something that I'm still working on. But I will say that I have a passion in assisting people to make proper financial decisions. Currently, I'm doing that, in just on an ad hoc basis. I am doing this personal financial management advisory. It's an area that I want to develop. I'm also interested in this due diligence issues because it is another area that is creating a vulnerability. I've helped quite a number of people, but out of just goodwill, not as a business. So I realized that I'll probably need to formalize it as a business so that I can grow the skill and the brand.
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself to be one of the skilled financial investigators in this country. And I missed the opportunity to join the corporate world as an accountant, pursuing this one area, financial investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Even after qualifying as a chartered accountant, I did not see it proper for me to join and go and practice as an accountant. I remained as a financial investigator. That's how passionate I am.
That's how you ended up being a guru. You and I have actually shared the stage a few times. Trying to help people, even in church, in a church setting.
Yeah.
So it's something that you should be commended for. What question do you have for me, sir?
Just one question.
Mm-hmm.
I have listened to your interviews. You seem to be a well-rounded lawyer. The real estate, water resources, farming, finance, you name it. How did you get there?
By His grace. By His grace, and also just the hunger and the realization that we are born for growth, we are born for expansion. So once that became clear, I engaged in a process of personal development which started 3 or so decades ago, and I maintain it up to now. Buy books on a regular basis. There's times when I go, my son calls it going on a beast mode, where I read one book a week. But the idea is to develop myself and also to empower those around me. And I've been fortunate, after a lot of trial and error, to develop a very, very good team and a series of teams around me. So it's not a one-man show, but it's a work in progress, but also influenced by the faith and the belief that we should go out there, make a difference in our community, and have dominion. So that is part of the influence.
Okay. Don't you think this is what we probably need to be encouraging our people to do? If we had that zeal, all of us, do you think we could still fall victims?
I think if we had financial literacy and basic financial intelligence, you wouldn't fall victim. I haven't fallen victim to any of these schemes.
Yeah.
And even when I was involved in MLM, for 9 months I was involved in a multi-level marketing company. I won't mention the name. But after 9 months, when I saw its future and I did a little bit of due diligence, this was around 2002, I pulled out, I realized that this benefits me. Yes, it provides life-changing financial and business education. But beyond that, what is the target? And when I saw the people who were at the top, like diamonds and whatnot, and I've analyzed their balance sheet, and I realized that this is just too limited. So it goes to what you were saying. But time has run out, Dr. Sethibe. I want you to look at that camera and just say a few final words. Leave the viewer with words of encouragement and words of wisdom as we wrap up.
Thank you, my dear viewers. My last word is be careful, take care of your property, inform yourself, because you are the only person that can protect your own property. The law enforcement officers comes after the fact. Thank you.
Do you want to tell them where they can reach you? What contact details are you willing to share with them? WhatsApp, social media, etc.
I've got, I'm not a social media person per se, but I can give you my WhatsApp number. I have restricted myself to just one social media, which is the WhatsApp number, 75424451.
All right.
75424451.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me take this time to thank you very much for sharing your extensive wisdom. You've been very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.